All right, folks, time for a capital markets quickie from yesterday. So let's get into it. Stocks were a bit all over the place on Monday. Here's what went down. The 10-year Treasury yield made some headlines by jumping above 5%. But guess what? It didn't stay there for long. It went back down a bit as investors started to wrap their heads around the idea that, well, interest rates might just stay high for a while. Now, diving into the big indices, the Dow Jones took a bit of a tumble, falling by 0.6%, which is close to 200 points. The Standard & Poor's 500 index also felt the pinch, dropping by nearly 0.2%. But hey, it wasn't all gloomy. The Nasdaq Composite actually went up by almost 0.3%. What's causing all this movement, you ask? Well, there's a bit of a sell-off happening in bonds, and there's a lot of tension brewing in the Middle East. On top of that, everyone's on the edge of their seats waiting for those big tech companies to kick off earnings season. Stocks have been a tad shaky lately, especially after Fed Chair Jerome Powell hinted that the central bank is all in on keeping borrowing costs high. Speaking of yields, after hitting that 5% mark, the 10-year yield cooled off to 4.84% by the end of the day, and the 30-year Treasury, it's now just shy of 5%. But wait, there's more! Investors are gearing up for some crucial data that'll give us a peek into how strong the U.S. economy really is. We've got our eyes on the third quarter GDP and the Fed's go-to inflation measure, both dropping later this week. Oh, and before we wrap up, a couple of juicy tidbits from the business world. Chevron shares dipped by 3% in pre-market. Why? They're set to buy their smaller competitor Hess in a stock deal worth a whopping $53 billion. The aim? To boost their operations in Guyana. And in other merger news, Roche is dishing out $7.1 billion to get their hands on Televant, a bowel drug maker. Fun fact, Televant's owned by Pfizer and Roivant Sciences, and their shares? They shot up by almost 12%. So that's it for today's episode of Capital Markets Quickie. Join me tomorrow morning for a brand new episode. This is Endrit, signing off.